Are you flying there as you have?
Yeah, we're gonna fly there, and which is good. And we can get there and we'll be ready. So that means we'll, and we're just starting school, so they'll get a chance to go to school, and then we'll get right out afterwards.
You had mentioned in the previous few press conferences that although the results weren't what you had hoped for, the practices were good. Now, was that a glimpse of what we can envision in the next few weeks, that
I
when
think
things come together?
I think that what you received is what we did from the practices. The game, I thought, our kids have practiced hard, and they practiced well, to be exact, and they just weren't receiving any results from them. And you hate to have that, because when you play that hard, you want to receive some results. And, that happens. That's a tough thing with a young team, because what normally happens, if the game is tight, the young teams could lose those games, even though they had great practices and they worked hard. But they could lose games, and that could happen with our team.
Do you think that big win opened up some eyes in the Horizon League, that Cleveland State's not dead and buried just yet?
Well, I think what it did is say, hey, when you go to Cleveland State, you want to play. I mean, it's they're not as easy to beat at there as we have on the road, as they have played on the road. So I think in any program you want to solidify your home first, and that's what I think we're doing. And if we can continue to do that, I think now that gives us a chance. We're still way off from being at the top of this thing. These guys are. It just you're playing a lot of guys that got veterans, and they also play well at home too. So the team that can go on the road and have some success is the team that's going to win this thing. And these are 2 road games.
4 out of 5, does that at least give you an opportunity to build a team in that regard? Hey, we're going on the road. Let's see if we can build it, get a couple road wins, split it, win more. I mean, what?
Well,
you talked about being strong at home. Then the next step is.
Well, our theme is to get our first road victory. That's our theme. We want to get our first road victory.
You had one.
Ball State. No, I'm talking about conference road victory, and we want to get that, and that's our goal. Whatever it takes, we got to try to get that first road victory, because you can't get the second one unless you win the first one.
If you can just kind of go over Bryn's performance in the first half, is that about as good as you've seen?
Well, I mean, he was fabulous shooting the ball. As good as shooting, you can see. Because if I evaluate the defense, but it's good. You know what? I had to. It took me a while, but I had to balance it out. I had to say, offense against defense. I literally did that with him, because it's a process for him, and it should be, because he's in his learning phase. But do we give us enough offense that you don't worry, not worry, but you trade off the defense? And the reason why I say that, because you can still get the offense coming off the bench. You can still get the offense coming off the bench. But what I weighed was how were we starting, and we weren't starting well. And one of the reasons why is we weren't getting any points early. Even though we weren't playing great defense early and we were turning the ball over, you could keep a balance if you score some points, and we weren't scoring any points. So, and what I inevitably did was look at every game, and we weren't scoring any points to start the game. We were turning the ball over, so they were, it's really getting bad. Then we'll go to the bench and bring him off the bench, and then we'll score for a short period of time. Mm-hmm. For instance, like at Valpo, we were down 12-1, wasn't it?
Yep, 12-1.
12-1. I put him and Junior in the game, and it's 10-12. Just that quickly. Mm-hmm. And it's because they can score. They can score. So what I had to do was decide, do I put them both in there to start? Because they're both struggling with the defensive end. Do I put them both in there? But I could put one of them in there, and the one that could give us the biggest charge, I thought, was Bryn.
Mm-hmm. Now you're saying Junior struggling on the defensive end. I think he has more tools to combat at
Oh
defense.
yes.
How
You're
much?
talking about Brent Stools, huh?
How much? How much is that because he missed so much time?
Well, I think it's part of that, and I also think he's still fighting the injury. I think I'm telling you as we sit here, when I watch his movement, he's a step slow, and it's going to take him a while for that to come back. And and I know it's also becoming mentally for him, and I want to help him with it, but there's nothing you can do. He's going to have to fight his way out of this, and that's why I feel, I gave him a date that when we want to be at our best as a team. I can't get us to you guys, but I gave them a date, and I think probably the biggest one that will use this to their abilities and gain from this is Junior. I think by that date he will have shown great improvement by that date. But see, I still think there's some still great games for him to have. He just got to understand where he got to bring them from. If he does that, he'll help us.
How do guys like Bren, the Curry brothers?
You put him in that kind of class. Trust me.
Hey, now I haven't seen every game, but the games I've seen, boy showed up. So
yeah.
So I'm just going. I'll be Bill Belichick. I can only go by what I see. But
I will say
that,
before you start that question, I will say this: the kid doesn't fear anything.
Well, that seems to be a trait.
That is the first thing that if he shoot a bad shot, he's not going to stop shooting.
You said that
he's not going to stop shooting them from where he's shooting them. So,
but how do all those guys, Fredette, him, like I say, the Curry brothers, you can probably keep going down the list. How do all those guys become under recruited when scoring is the one thing everybody wants?
Yeah, that's true.
Around the country.
You know what? It's funny because when I was recruiting Bren and we went into, I tell you, he was playing the state finals at Michigan State. Okay,
the one where Ray lit him up, or
no? This was this past year. They won the state
okay.
final, and I got there and a little early, and I seen Izzo, and Izzo invited me to be in his loge, and he had to go do some things, and he went to do some things, and I was in there with three other guys. These are his guys, like a lawyer that's from there, and we're in there just talking, and they said, the one we really love is that Bren Forbes. And they kept in the whole time in this meeting. That's all. And then Bren went off and had about 18 in the championship game, and they really felt good about it. I mean, they really started talking about him, and I would say, he's got a ways to come. Don't worry about him in the future. And then one of them telling me, he says, Coach, well, you really got a good one. He's really gonna help you guys. And for me at that stage, you just don't know yet.
Right.
And because that was before he came.
Right.
However, the other two players on his team.
Yeah, I remember those.
Both start now.
Right. One
start at Iowa and one start at Michigan State. Both start, but for 2 years, Brent has been the leading scorer. And it's just adding to your point.
Right.
Why do they overlook that to say, these guys are better?
Well, not necessarily better, but we want this guy before that guy or ahead of that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, in the college game, everybody's looking for scoring.
Yeah, and maybe those two were made because of a need. One was a point guard that could score, and one was a three. See, he could really pass the ball. The ones at Michigan State, Valentine, he can really pass the ball. So he had the whole package, and he's a big 6'5" guard. So he had the whole package. Now, the thing that with Bren is, and I hope they don't. People just judge him.
McCollum's another one, but go ahead.
Yeah, they just don't judge him exclusively on if he can play defense or something like that and overlook the offensive ability. And you could easily do that. You could say, well, that ain't his niche. And at this level, he got to be tougher, and he got to do this, he got to do that. I'm a believer. I learned this a long, long time ago from Bobby Knight. When I was at one of them.
3 and 2.
Yeah, and I took it a little deeper because I knew what he was saying, and because of me being a defensive guy, and what he was saying is, you want 3 parts tough on the floor at all times, with 2 parts soft. And what he was saying is you need 2 skilled guys out there. Because somebody got to put the ball in the hole. You know, you can be as tough as you want to be, but if you don't have those 2 skilled guys out there putting the ball in the hole, you don't have enough scoring. And that's where we were at. We were literally at that point, because it was okay earlier because you had Anton and you had Charlie scoring. And so, and then Tim could hit some shots because Anton was in the hole doing his thing. So you didn't worry about, you needed 2 tough guys out there rebounding and defending. So you really didn't bother that. But when Anton left, now all of a sudden you don't have any tough guys out there, you know, really going after doing all the dirty work. You don't have anybody out there. So, except for Sebastian. So Sebastian was the lone soldier doing all this work. Okay? And which is okay. No. You had Marlon that could do some of it. You had that in there because he'd do the rebounding in, but you didn't have anybody that was putting the ball in the hole. And when they and the other team seen that, they said, well, the only one they got is Charlie, and the only one they got is Tim if he's open. So let's keep a guy on Tim, and whenever Charlie comes off screen, double it. Now make them others beat you. They cannot beat you. I knew everyone was looking at that. And I was trying to figure it out, so I said, well, let me bring it in later, you know, and sneak it on them so they don't just take Brent away as soon as he come in the game. So, and it worked. Brent would come off and score points. But we weren't getting a fast start. We're starting in the hole 10, 12 points every game. And I said, our kids are too young to overcome that. So I said, let's start it from the beginning.
Just the last thing on Brent and a little bit on the recruiting. Was he basically recruited to be a shooter? Hey, this is a guy we could.
Well, we knew we needed his ability to shoot the basketball.
Right. So 8, 10, 12 minutes coming in.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it
but
could be.
You know what I'm saying.
No,
you were bringing him in to be a specialist.
Especially, that's exactly right. The thing that Brent has shown us that I didn't see, I really didn't see this. See, I had watched him all in AAU, and then I watched him throughout high school that senior year and part of a little bit of his junior year. But what I didn't see is his ability to take the ball off the dribble. See, most shooters can are area shooters. So if they're in that area, you throw the ball to them, they can hit the shot. Or when you get a guy that can take it off the dribble, pull up and shoot, or take it all the way to the basket, now he becomes even more of a threat, because if you run at him, he can drive past you. If you stay off him, he can hit the shot. And that's what Brent has shown his ability to do. And now we got to get his head to see both things. He's got to read both. When a guy come at me, I'm taking him. But what he's trying to do now is when the guy runs at him, he's taking him, but he's trying to go all the way, and he gets a charge or something, or he travels trying to do it. Now this is all a learning and training stage for him. If he can understand this, I mean, he could be a pretty prolific scorer in this league for time to come, because he does them both, and most people don't do them both. And you got to tighten up his ball handling. Right. If you can do those things, he could be a pretty good scorer. I mean, hear me what I'm telling you. It took Trey all the way to his end of his junior year to do this. This boy's got it already, and he just got to learn how to use it. I mean, Trey would never drive. You remember that? Right. I mean, he would never drive. The guy run at him, and he don't know what would happen. Now, I mean, Brand reads it instinctively. You know, a guy runs at him, he's ready to get by him, but he's running from the guy, and that's what I got to teach you. Don't run from the guy. Go to a spot.
Run from the spot, right?
Yeah, go to a spot that you want to bury him at to get him past you.
Is that what's happening with Charlie's offense? Is now they're doubling him, or they're
everywhere he goes, they're taking him away, so he can't. And everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it. And then when he gets a little tight when he misses a couple of shots and he doesn't want to force it, so you get those kind of situations. But I still think Charlie's got more offense to come. He just got to, he's feeling Brent, and he's got to get Brent into the offense, because he's looking for Brent everywhere he goes, and he's trying to feel everything else where he can find himself. And I'm telling you, it takes a while for that to happen.